What's going on, everybody? Thank you all very, very much for being here. It's Proper Royals Live. It's 8 p.m. on Tuesday night on the East Coast. Hey, I got Jason Abraham from Abe's Exotic Reptiles, and we were talking, and he says, look, all my friends call me Abe, so you can call me Abe. Every work in the professional setting, they call me Jason. So Abe is here tonight, Abe's Exotic Reptiles. He's been around a long, long time in the industry. I could already tell, just great energy. It's great to get to meet him and to hang out in the green room for just a little bit before the show tonight. Stick around. We're going to talk about some of the past, but really we want to look forward, see what the future of our industry and our hobby, what we feel like that looks like. I had this belief, wholehearted belief, that the longer you've been around, the more true value you have as an expert. I never necessarily set out to be an expert in food, but you work in restaurants for 27 years uninterrupted the way that I did. I don't know exactly when it was, but one day I woke up and poof, I was an expert because I'd been doing it for so long and working at it for so long. And that's what Abe brings to the table tonight in the reptile industry. So we're going to talk about a lot of his experience and a lot of what he sees going forward. And then I thought it'd get interesting to talk very specifically about investing in specific morphs. I think we all understand, or maybe we don't. Maybe I got to talk to him about this. I don't think you could stay static with your collection. I think you have to bring new genes in. I think you have to grow. I think you have to try and stay on the cutting edge. And he does that as well. So anyhow, we'll get into all that. That's Abe. Let me apologize ahead of time. I'm not feeling great. I'm a little stuffed up. I think it's just that I overexerted myself for a few days. I've been working hard, going hard. March is a busy month for me, but pardon me if I make some weird sounds. We're going to get through it, I promise. And it's a good interview tonight. It's been a heavy week, right? So I want to have a good night tonight. First and very, very foremost, in the truest, most literal way that I can put it, absolutely my thoughts and my prayers, literal prayers for Brian Barczyk and his family. I lost my mother to ovarian cancer. I'm very familiar with I'm very familiar with the situation. I'm not the only one that's ever been touched by cancer, neither is Brian. I wish him the very best, and if there's anybody that can work their way through it, I'm sure it is Brian Barczyk. But that is a scary, scary diagnosis. Pancreatic cancer is no joke, and he will take all the support that he can get from all of us, I'm quite sure. And I think that there's an argument to be made. We won't get into it this show. That's not what I want to make the show about. But I think there's an argument to be made, at least for modern reptile keeping. Brian's probably the most important face, figurehead, influencer that there's been. And so whether this is a hobby to us, whether this is an industry to us, or somewhere in between, I think Brian has a lot to I think we have a lot to be grateful to Brian for. So I don't understand a lot of things in life, and I don't understand why things happen to certain people in the way that they do, and that's for me to think about. But anyhow, Brian, my very, very best. I'm sure on behalf of my whole community, this is we're with you. So cheers. Vended Lakeland Repticon this past weekend. It was my first show that I really just felt like it was a bust. There wasn't many people through the door. My revenue was, it wasn't nothing, but okay, I'll tell you, my revenue was $72. Revenue, not profit, my revenue. I fortunately didn't have to pay for a hotel or anything. I was staying with friends, and I got good networking and that stuff. But it was the same weekend. It was one weekend after Tampa, and Lakeland is only about 30 miles from Tampa. So, what do you do? Get out there and learn. I was happy to get out there. It was a little bit odd. It was the first show that I really felt like there was like cutthroat people at work, and it like I say, it was just a rough week. Brian, that show, everything that went down with Antoine, I don't want to get into it. Everybody else has. I got to say though, if you haven't seen Billy's my content podcast, check his out. He's got a different style than I do, of course, and a different way of putting it. But at the end of the day, his argument was exactly right. If you don't like something, just change the channel. Get it out of your life. Move on. If you don't like mine, change the channel. What are you going to sit here and focus on what you don't like about something? Like, it's a little bit crazy. So anyhow, I'm glad Antoine got his Instagram page back. I really didn't think that was going to happen. I'm really happy for him on that. And I am quite intrigued on how he managed to do that. I hope I'm not in that situation ever, but if I am, I'll be in touch, Antoine. This weekend, Jacksonville Repticon, my own backyard. I got to be a player in my backyard, right? I got to go do this show. So come see me, Jacksonville Repticon, Saturday and Sunday at the Jacksonville Fairgrounds. I will be there vending. Big news from USARK Florida. I know there's been alerts that have popped up. It seems to be kind of the hip thing to do right now for politicians, local, especially local council level politicians, to take on the reptile industry around the country. In Florida, I don't know if y'all are familiar, FWC, Florida Wildlife Commission, the chairman of that commission is an appointed position. He's not elected, and he's threatening to make laws that he doesn't have the authority to legislate or to make bans. And he's made it very clear that he intends to do so at the May, I think it's May 23rd, but the May meeting. So we have a lot stacked up against us here in Florida, but we got USARK on our side. USARK Florida this week, interesting strategy, I think, aside from the people legislating the laws that aren't elected or might not have the authority to. Aside from that, USARK has been heading down a road here in Florida that makes a legal argument that says this isn't wildlife that we're dealing in. These morphs, these generational pets, this industry, yes, there's imports, so we're not talking about that. We're talking about the pets and the captive bred, captive born animals. They're not wild. They're not wildlife. This livestock. This should be agriculture. This is not a wildlife concern. And so they're challenging the legality of Florida Wildlife Commission's authority. It's a long shot. It's not a new thought, and whoever loses will appeal the decision up. So it's the start of a very long, tenuous process. But that's what USARK does. That's why we need to support them. So do your best to support USARK if you don't mind, if you would. One big announcement, and I'll hit the ticker right now. Sorry, like I said, I'm out of it with this this head cold stuff I got going on. I don't know if you saw the Instagram reel that I just posted maybe an hour ago. I have been talking about getting Patreon going, and I had the premium tier up and ready and rolling. But I had promised you that I was going to add an everyday tier that basically you could just support Proper Royals if you like. And then a middle tier, but I wanted something to separate me from everybody else that has Patreon. And I always ask myself, what can I do that nobody else is doing? And what I'm doing, all three tiers are now live and maybe joined. What's not live, and I'll tell you the funny story here in a minute, but the whole idea of what can I provide that nobody else is providing, I've installed 3 cameras around my facility, and they will stream live 24/7 in perpetuity. I mean, until I guess Proper Royals doesn't exist. But my full facility, they cover my facility. So my show stock is over here. My quarantine is back over there. That's not on the video. My big sink will have its own camera. And then, of course, the breeding room will have its own camera. And you'll be able to see everything that I do 24/7. I'll do schedules for it of when I feed, when I pair. So like tomorrow morning, I'll be pairing my females. Every Wednesday, I do that. You'll see how I prepare rats, how I clean tubs, how I keep up, the amount of time I spend each day with my animals, or that I don't. You'll see that I handle them every day. And then there's room for a 4th feed, which I've got a Bluetooth camera, wireless en route. And I think we'll do cool things like we'll do like an egg cam, when we're approaching birth date, we can see them pip, we can watch it, all of that. So for $7 a month, you'll get access to the 24/7 webcam, and you'll get priority access on all animals before they hit Morph Market, before they hit my mailing list. It'll only be after the top 2 tiers. The top tiers will get first priority. So first tier, second tier, then the third tier, and that's the $7 a month one. So you could join that now. I regret to say that the live stream won't be live until Friday. It is literally easier, I think, I've never gotten one, but as I understand it, it's literally easier to get a gun in America than it is to start live streaming on YouTube if you just start your channel. There's literally, I'm in a waiting period right now to get, I've been approved. I just have to wait. I might have, vile things to spew into the ether if I were to start live streaming right now. Oddly enough, I already have a YouTube channel that I live stream on, and the new channel is tied to this one. Anyway, that'll be live. The second tier is $35 a month. It's exactly the same as everything I just described, except 100% of that money gets banked into store credit. So if you want to start building a bank on projects you think that you're going to want to buy from me, that you see me cover, there you go. 100% of it. I don't take out the YouTube fees or the Patreon fees. I don't make you do 2 or 3 months ahead of time. That $35 tier, you put in 35, you're going to get 35 out in animal credit. No blackouts, no exceptions on inventory. We're talking live animal inventory. And you still get the 24/7 live stream, but you're in second place for animal access. Only the $100 tier, which is like the consulting tier, the business review tier. That one gets first access on the animals. So go check it out. There's all kinds of ways you could support me, and let me know what you think too. I can't wait to get the stream up and going. Check out the Instagram reel. It does have some actual screenshots. So, all right, thank you for being here. There's 33 of you. I didn't get a chance to say hello to the audience tonight, and I'm not great at the shout outs anyhow, but thank you all very, very much. Sorry, I shouldn't have made the comment about guns. I'm not really, it's not my thing, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be anybody else's thing. I guess what I'm saying is I'm ignorant, and I'm spewing out things on that. I just thought it was a funny thing to say. It's amazing how difficult it is to get a YouTube stream going. Jeremy, I promise I will not be in my underwear nor doing yoga. You guys might see me doing my push-ups. There's no reason anybody knows this, but I do like 125 to 150 push-ups a day. So like in down times when I just need to get thinking, I'll just knock out 25 or 30 push-ups. But so yeah, you might see some of those. What's up, Alan? I hope that you're well. Thank God you didn't come up to that Lakeland show, man. You would not have covered well, maybe you would have, but everybody at the show complained that it was awful. So you guys have some crazy thoughts about me. No, I'm not going to be naked running around my snake room. What do you guys do in your snake room? Yeah, so go check it out. See what you think. Wait, did somebody say they got one? Oh no, bronze membership to US ARC. I was like, wow, people are already joining. Anyhow, it's there. Hey, welcome. Thank you all. Let's get down to it. I don't know how long I'll last with the way that I'm feeling, and I know that you come here for content, and tonight we got some killer content. Abe's Exotic Reptiles. That is Jason Abraham. We call him Abe. Please welcome for the very, very first time to the Proper Royals stage, Abe from Abe's Exotic Reptiles. Abe, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Adam? How you doing, man?
I am good. Thank you for being patient. My like opening monologues get longer and longer, and I'm like, man, maybe I just need to get to it, or maybe I do them later. I don't know. Anyhow, here we are.
Nice.
So,
Jeremy's comments were hysterical about you cleaning tubs in your underwear, and I was envisioning that. Like when he was saying, I was like, my God, Adam's gonna put up these cameras and live stream everything all the time. Like there's a lot of room for error.
There is.
That's scary.
Now I will say I turned the volume off, the no volume, because this is actually you can't see it directly on the cameras, but this is my office space, so this is where I conduct my other work, and so I was like, nah, I need to keep some of that private, and like my screen, you can't see my computer screen in the cameras, but otherwise, yeah, like you'll see when I'm coming and going, and I'll have my pants on, people. I promise you that. That's I haven't resorted to OnlyFans model yet. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe. Who knows?
Nice.
Abe, tell us, first and foremost, you're going to be on, thank you for being here, but you're going to be on Key's show tomorrow night too.
I am. It was just kind of crazy scheduling. Yeah. But I like it. You know, back to back, and I don't know, keeps things fresh. You know what I mean?
I think so. And Keys is great, dude. Terry and Keisha are just, they've been great to me. We've always had a friendly relationship. I think we push each other a little bit, but not like push each other's buttons, you know. Always, he's been on my show, I've been on his. So guys, go check out Abe tomorrow night as well. And you know, the good news with Keys and myself, we're two different products. So people are going to get two very different shows, even with the same guest. So yep. I think it's cool. And I think I had to figure out how to diplomatically put this. I know there are other shows, believe it or not, it's kind of crazy to me. We're talking reptile podcasts. There's other shows that make people agree not to do any other show 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after theirs. And I'm like, you know, there's replays, right? And like this anyway. So it's all good and all cool. I'm glad to have you. For anybody in the audience that hasn't met you or isn't familiar, give us the elevator pitch. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on how'd you get into this, what was the story, but give us a little bit of context.
All right, so here it is in a nutshell. My name is Jason Abraham. My friends call me Abe. They have since I was like 6 or 7 years old. I remember like playing ball, you know, outside as a kid, and it just became the nickname, and I stuck with it. And when I was trying to decide on a reptile business name, it was hard because a lot of people use their names, and a lot of people have exotic and reptiles, and they have all the same stuff in the name. And I was like, man, what can I do to set myself apart? And I was really struggling with it. You know what I mean? And I realized, you know what, there's not another Abe in this game. You know, it's unique. It's unique to me. It's what my friends call me. And you know what? I like this community, like the reptile community. I like everything that comes with it. And I consider, you know, all these people my friends, you know. So I said, you know what, it makes sense. My friends call me Abe. There's not another Abe in this game. I'm going to go by Abe's Exotic Reptiles. And I'm glad I did. You know, in retrospect, I'm glad it's a name that kind of worked for me. It stuck, and people seem to kind of know it, and they seem to kind of identify me with it, which was my big concern, because a lot of times people will have a name that has nothing to do with them or just a random word, and It's hard to make that connection sometimes. So I like that it's connected to me. It's connected to my last name. And little history on me, you know, long and short of it, you know, reptiles my whole life. I got a Burmese python when I was in high school. I was 15. And that was the beginning of everything. I had a Burmese until I was 18, basically. I left for college. I had to get rid of that snake because my mom and dad wouldn't take care of it for me when I left to go off to school, of course. So I ended up selling that thing.
How big did that get in the time? I mean, yeah, that's no joke.
It got real big. I had it in a 4x2x2, like a big homemade, you know, display that I had made basically out of wood and plexiglass.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a berm. I had some Doomerals boas back then, and basically sold the stuff because my parents couldn't take care of it. Went off to college, came home from college, and got right back in.
Okay.
Bought a bunch of snakes, got back in, not for breeding. This was just because I love to have them and I like to keep them. I'm mystified by these things, you know. Right. I really am. Like, dude, they're magical to me. There's something crazy about them that I can't detach from. I don't know what it is, but I have this connection to snakes and reptiles in general. I kind of have my whole life. I had this like recurring nightmare when I was a kid, that this giant snake would come into my house. And this was when I was like 5, 6, 7. This giant snake would come into my house and just like kill my whole family.
Oh no.
Right? It was a nightmare. Like, it was a crazy, insane nightmare. And I had this dream over and over until, gosh, probably I was like 8 or 9. You know, I remember having it a bunch of times, but I had this like inherent fear of snakes because of this nightmare that I kept having when I was a kid. And ironically and strangely enough, like the thing that made me gravitate towards snakes was that nightmare. And getting that snake when I was in high school, that Burmese, like, it was kind of like the closure. It was like the conclusion to that nightmare that I used to have. And I was able to kind of like close that door on that weird shit that happened to me when I was a kid. And, you know, it was weird though, the way it came together. It was almost like I was overcoming a fear.
Right. Yeah.
by
Yeah.
getting that snake.
Facing the reality versus the well, the false reality, but the scary image, the scary monster kind of idea.
Yeah, you know, so I got that one, ended up sadly having to get rid of it. It got big, it got very big. My mom was like freaking out because at that point I was like starting to feed it rabbits and stuff, and it got crazy, you know.
Right.
But I came back after college, got back in, started kind of buying stuff just as a hobby. And then I met my girlfriend at that time. She's now my wife, and we moved in together. And I was freaked out about it. Like, she was cool and supportive of me with the reptiles, totally supportive, and still is to this day. But I was nervous about it. I was like, man, you know, her and I are going to move in together. We're young. We're in our early 20s, you know, and I was like, man, we were looking for a house. And I was like, gosh, I just don't know how well this is going to go over with her as far as me like taking a whole bedroom and dedicating it to my reptiles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, and I was in love with her, and I didn't want to like mess that up because of the reptiles. So I was really like on the fence about how to handle life at that point. And I ended up selling off all the snakes I had at that point. So I collected again for like 3 years, sold a lot of the stuff, all of it actually, because I was nervous. I didn't want to like stress. I didn't want to stress my new relationship.
Yeah.
And I wanted to move in with her cleanly and didn't want to have that kind of looming over me. And even though she was cool with it totally and told me she was cool with it, I still had this like, you know, maybe it's not the best idea. Like, we want to start a family and start like our lives together. And, you know, maybe this reptile stuff will be able to come back into my life at a later point. So sold everything. I had like 15 snakes at that point, and it was all boas. I was a boa guy. You know, I had all red tail boas, Colombian and Brazilian rainbows, Dumerals boas. I had a pair of Dumerals. No ball pythons. I had no ball pythons until now, basically, but it was all boas. And sold everything, got married, started my career, started my life. We had kids, and 15 years of no reptiles, no snakes, no nothing in the house.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I was always watching though. I was still like in reptile like room, like I was still at ballpythons.net. I was still in fauna classifieds, and I was still looking to see what new genes were popping out and what was happening. Because you got to realize, like, years ago when I started this in ball pythons, there was only normals, albinos, and like hides. You know what I mean? Spider. You know, there was only like a few mutations. So I was seeing all this new stuff pop up, and I was like, my God, I need to get back in. So I kept like hinting to my wife that I wanted to get back in. And I did. So in 2015, I went to an NARBC show in Tinley Park. With the intention of buying an animal that day. I didn't know what I was going to buy. I had been researching a little bit, but I just wanted to get a ball python. Like, I knew I didn't want something big like a boa or a Burmese that was going to get big and out of control, because I had young kids in the house too.
Exactly.
So I wanted to do something with my son too. He was 10 years old at the time, and I figured, you know what, this is cool for him and I to be able to bond over. It's a pet that, you know, we can both kind of mess with. He's allergic to dogs and cats, like anything with fur. He's like hyper allergic. So I'm like, okay, I know reptiles. I can keep snakes. I know them like the back of my hand. It's easy to keep them. And I want to bring one in. It'll be a pet for him, and it'll be a hobby for me. You know, and that was like late 2014. And bought a ball python at Tinley. I got it from Tom Harbin. Everybody knows Tom. You know, Tom's a great dude. I got it from him, and he was awesome, you know, and I'm standing there with my son, and Tom just made my son and I super comfortable with the whole transaction.
Good.
And I ended up buying a snake from him. And, you know, a year later, I had like 50. I had a room dedicated, like I'm in here now. So I basically took a spare bedroom that we had in the house, you know, and basically made it my reptile room. Like, I'm going to move down to the basement. I have a full finished basement right now, but my kids are down there. Like, that's their spot. That's where their gaming rig is. That's where the big TV is. Like, they're down there with their friends, and that's where they hang out. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to take that room away from my kids. Just so I could have my reptile room. So I have a spare bedroom here. It's upstairs. It's on the second floor in my house. You know, of course, no running water in here, nothing like that. Like, it's not easy, but you make it work. When you love something, man, you just make it happen. You know, you suffer. And I wouldn't call this suffering. I love it. Like, to me, it's there's nothing better, man, than coming home from a day of work at my day job. And I sit at a computer all day. Like, I'm an IT guy. So my day job, I am a technical guy. I'm a geek by trade. I went to school for IT management. That's what I do. I run a huge help desk system. I manage 20 technicians that kind of take care of fires all over the place all day, every day. And I manage all the back end systems for the school district that I work for, the email system, the student management system,
Oh, I see.
the bus transportation systems. I manage all the systems. I'm a techie guy. So I'm sitting all day, I'm sitting in a computer, and I get home and I love coming into this room where I am right now. I throw on some Led Zeppelin, I crank it up, and I start cleaning snake shit. And you know what? I love it.
Yeah.
Like, it helps me decompress. It helps me wind down a little bit. It helps me unload from my day. And I love it. I crank on some tunes. I clean for a little bit. I change some water. And then I go down and connect with my family. And I'm like decompressed from my workday job. And I'm chill. I'm ready to go. And I join the family and everything's awesome. So I love it, man. I don't know what I would do without this room. It helps keep my sanity.
You know, I really get that too. Like, I thought a lot about these potential law problems in Florida, and it's easy to just go, well, I would just move, and maybe I would. I don't know. My wife would probably pretty happily go back to Minnesota. So, but it's really cold there. I don't know about that. Anyway, you know, we probably could. I guess we have the means to, but I don't want to. This is our home. This is my home, and I know what you mean, because I'm like, well, what would I do if I sold the animals? Like, life would just be boring and normal. Like, what are we going to sit around and watch Netflix? Like, I don't want to do that. Like, you know, sometimes I do, but not often. And like, it's become my thing. It's become my drive. I want to understand it more. I still want to get my head around it. I love the challenge of the business side of it, which is, you know, a challenge in and of itself. And it's just, you know, just, it's cool. And so I get what you're saying. And I like also, for me, in a healthy way, it's a break from people. There's just silence, and you can focus on the task in hand. And I wonder, I wrote down here, one of the things I wrote down, with your IT background and probably perhaps IT sort of nature, how process and system driven are you in caring for your animals, or do you leave all that behind? Do you have?
Very. I'm kind of like neurotic about it. I'll be honest with you, because my day job kind of.
I didn't want to back into that
answer. Translates to this. It translates to this. Like, I clean on certain days. I change water on certain days. Right. It's just the way I'm wired, you know. And if I stray from it by a day, it happens. If I have something else going on and I have to change up the schedule, which, you know, messes with my head, but I get through it. But yeah, I'm very scheduled. I'm very kind of precise with what I do. I'm very, I guess I'm very specific about what I buy, like what animals I buy, what racks I buy. I do too much research. I overthink everything. It's just the way I am. You know what I mean? But what I do is I make sure that an animal that I'm buying has a purpose every time. I always, you know, it's got to have a purpose. Like, a lot of people will chase. A lot of people chase deals, you know, and I see this all the time, Adam. Like, people will chase a good bargain for a snake instead of chasing the quality of the snake. And I feel like that's a big mistake. And a lot of people will chase a good deal over a good snake. And if you know what, if that good snake is a few $100 more than that good deal, that good snake is going to help further your business a lot more than that good deal you got. Absolutely, all day. So for me, it absolutely makes sense to pay a little more for better quality, if you have the means to do it.
Right. Thanks for putting that in there too. I would not advocate people going into debt. But in that situation, I might advocate for not buying a snake at all then, versus buying the deal just because you have some cash in your pocket. I agree with you. And I think we've all, I don't want to speak for you. I know myself and a ton of people, we go through the evolution of, I've got money, I want to buy a snake. I go, oh, well, you know, I'll figure out what to do with it. Even if it's sorry, my alarm.
Someone's at your door.
My alarm's going off here telling me I'm in my room. Let me turn that off. But we go through that evolution of, oh, I see it, I want it, it's neat, and then maybe, oh, there's a breeder female. Even if she's just a normal, I could figure something out. And then you're like, okay, I got all that out of my system. Now it's time to focus. And that for me was probably about a year and a half process. And now, to be honest with you, I hardly buy snakes unless, and it's funny to go all the way back around to a deal. The snakes I bought in the past really year, with the exception of one or two, have been in collections that a few of them did have a very specific purpose, and the rest, of course, after quarantine and safety precautions and all that, could fund the purchase of those animals. So, or the wax. So essentially, you get the growth for free kind of deal.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, the purposeful purchasing is it's a challenge for all of us. We all like trinkets and shiny things, But
sure, yeah. But I remember this, Adam. I remember that I do this by myself. And that's how I check myself. I have my son. He helped, like my son was cool with, he loved it when I bought the first snake as a pet. But as it turned into, this,
right,
he started losing interest because it became too much. Like there were too many snakes. And once we weren't like naming them anymore, and they were just like, he's like, oh, what's this one's name? I'm like, well, that's a desert ghost head clown. It doesn't have a name.
Right.
You know what I mean? And once it got to that point, like he stopped kind of caring. He kind of lost his love for it. Like he'll come in and help me clean and help me do stuff in here, but it's not something he wants to do. And my wife, she does her own thing. This is my hobby. I do it for myself, and I keep it controlled because I know it's just me doing it.
Yeah.
I know it's me doing everything. I'm doing all the cleaning. I do ASFs also.
Okay.
I have a location like 10 minutes from me. A buddy of mine gives me a little space in this building he has.
Oh,
and
cool.
I do ASFs there. So I go there Saturdays, do ASFs, and I stop there a couple nights after work, each week, and top off the food and water. And my son comes with me on Saturdays to the rat building to go do all the like bedding changes each week, all the major work, and I have him do all the heavy lifting for me, so I don't have to do all that, I've got a 50-year-old son. That's what you do. You put him to work.
Right.
So, yeah, I make him kind of, come with me, do all that stuff. But as far as the amount of snakes in this room, I've got about 100 snakes in here right now.
I was going to say,
30 of those are babies. 30 of those are babies, And I do that on purpose, Adam. Like, I don't want it to be too big. A lot of people grow too big too fast, and they basically chase themselves out of this game. They grow too big. They realize, holy shit, my food bill's getting out of control. I have all these babies. Everything's spinning out of hand on me. I can't do this anymore. I'm out. And I'll never let that happen to me. I've been in and out of this game a few times now. I'm not getting out again. Like I don't need to at this stage of my life. I can stay in until I die, and I plan on it.
Right.
But a lot of people jump in. They buy. They start producing babies, and then they're overwhelmed and they're out. It's too much for them. So I control it. I'm very controlled with what I buy, with how much I breed. And I always remember, I'm doing this myself, so I got to keep it controlled. I don't want to let it spin out of control on me to where it's not enjoyable anymore. I need to enjoy and I need to love doing this. And I love doing it. And I can love it as long as the animals are under a certain number.
Yeah, there's no sense in getting to a place of panic because you're not prepared. And that, I will never say that there's only one way to run any business, but some of the best advice that I hear is to tell people that spend a year or 2 or 3 getting your feet under you. Breed 1 or 2 clutches for those 2 years. Because you're going to figure out your egg box. You're going to figure out your incubator. You're going to figure out, what it takes to get 6 or 12 or 18 babies feeding. You're going to figure out, like you say, the money, the overhead. Okay, if it costs you that much for 18 hatchlings, what's it going to cost you when you have 100 hatchlings?
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of cleaning.
Yeah. The relationships and partnerships you need to establish. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm only now in my 3rd. It's been 3 years since I've been keeping again. I sort of similar to you. I had some in college that I didn't breed or anything, just pets, just corn snakes, ball pythons, geckos. I had a big 50-gallon tank with an arowana in it.
Nice.
Yeah, just fun, cool, goofball stuff in college. But this is a whole different ball game, like the volume of keeping. I think I've got 90 or so right now, which all together. So it takes time to build up to that and figure that out. I can't remember if we were on air or not when you said you didn't have running water in that room and my eyes got big. Like for me, if I didn't have my huge industrial sink, I got a restaurant sink over here, man.
Yeah.
I would figure out some other way. I'm sure, like you say, you do what you got to do to get it done.
Yeah.
But that's one of my like secret sauce weapons, you know?
It's nice. I'm jealous of people that have running water and a giant sink in the room where they work. Like I bring everything down outside or out into my garage. I have a slop sink, like a little, yeah, in my laundry room. It's one of those little white utility sinks, right?
Yeah.
And I bring everything down there and I clean everything down there and it's fine. Like
Yeah.
it's not a big deal, but yeah, I got to bring everything downstairs and kind of in the summer, I like to go out on the deck in the backyard. I'll hose everything out while it's sunny out. Like I like doing that outside when I can, but like right now when it's 25 degrees outside, like,
Yeah.
it's all indoors, all of it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm bringing buckets of water from this room downstairs, out my front door, 2-3 times a week, dumping it in my lawn. It's just, but it's part of my process. It doesn't bother me. It's just, it would be nice to have running water in here, but this is how it is right now. And when I move down to the basement in a couple of years, when my son is gone, I'm going to fully convert it.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, I'll get the sink, I'll get the running water, I'll get everything that I want. But right now, I can deal with it the way it is just because I love it, man. It's what I signed up for, and I'm not going to let like my setup keep me from doing what I want to do. I love it too much.
I got to say thanks to Kike real quick. Kike, thank you very, very much for the kind donation. Everybody, that does go to helping to feed the snakes. If you enjoy the content and you want a way to support me, you can do that on Super Chat. You can do it on Patreon now as well. And Unlikely Morphs nailed the comment. Kike just said his morph market allowance is gone, and he's just, at least the wife let you keep the Super Chat. I too am thankful for that. So thank you guys very, very much. I wrote down one question earlier. So before the 2014, 2015 time frame, did you ever breed either as a hobby business or a business at that point before then or not?
No. So I did accidentally have a pair of ball pythons breed and lay eggs for me when I was in high school, but after I came back from college and I had all the boas and stuff, I did have one pair of ball pythons.
Yeah.
This guy gave them to me. I didn't even buy them. A guy at a show, I used to go to this show in Streamwood, Illinois. They don't have it anymore, but this dude at a table, and he was like getting out, and he was literally just giving stuff away because he didn't know what to do, So I took this pair of normal ball pythons and I kept them together. Like he's like, yeah, I've had them together in this tank for like the last few years, and I don't know if they're boys or girls. And I was like, all right, whatever, I'll take them. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I took them home, and he gave me even the tank that he had, so he gave me the whole setup. I brought it home with me, and they just stayed in there, And one day I woke up and there were eggs. And I wasn't prepared for it, I had no incubator, I had nothing, and so I didn't know what to do. I instantly kind of panicked. I had a book, no joke. I had a book, and it's called The Reproductive Husbandry of Boas and Pythons, and I had read it when I was in high school. And it was a book about basically how snakes breed and how they reproduce, boas, pythons, and everything. And it was a very awesome book. I learned a ton from it when I was young, but I realized that, boy, these eggs are just going to go bad on me. I have no one to call. I don't know who I can have incubate these for me. I don't know what I can do. I don't have something to keep these things at 90 degrees for 60 days. Like these, I don't know what to do. They're just going to die. And I had to accept that. And there was nothing I could do. Like I couldn't get an incubator quickly. That, back then, this was 25 years ago, 24 years ago. You know what I mean? Like there was no Amazon. I couldn't get that shit the next day at my front door. So there were no choices, there were no options. So the eggs just, I pulled them out and set them to the side. And of course, within, a couple of days, they were all just dying. And I was like, okay, I got to just throw these out. So I had to literally throw them in the garbage. But what happened to me at that moment, Adam, was it became a goal of mine. So throwing those eggs in the garbage for me made me have a goal in life of wanting to breed snakes at some point.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, I want to do this at some point, but that wasn't the time, And once I did the starting my life and family and work and all that stuff, and I was able to get back into it. Like I said, in 2014, I bought the snake. By the end of 2015, I had 40, and I had my first clutches in 2017. And since then, it's just been kind of growing, keeping everything controlled, like I said, and trying to keep it fun.
Yeah,
that's the key. You got to keep it fun, because if you can burn yourself out on this quickly with the work, and I don't want to do that. Like this is a hobby. I turned it into a business in 2019. I created an LLC. I made it formal because I wanted to be legit. Like I wanted this to be a legit business for me moving forward. It's something I love to do. And I gotta be honest, man, like for me personally, this is the American dream right here, man. Like I am able to actually make money on my side hustle doing something I love that I would be doing anyway, even if I wasn't making any cash doing it. I'd be doing it anyway. But the fact that I can bring in some cash doing it on the side is awesome. You know, I have a day job and I have other income streams and I try to do some investing and stuff, but the snakes, you know, I don't really care about how much money I make with them. I'll be honest with you. For me, it's all about like, what can I make with them and what kind of new stuff can I bring to the table? For me, it's just, I don't know. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the fact that we're dealing with this like living art that we're able to manipulate, that we can change the color and the pattern on by buying certain genes, and it's in our control. And to me, that's scientific and that's awesome. I love it.
I was telling somebody, I think even at the show this weekend, like I understand the science, the basic science of recessive genes and dominant genes, of course. So we can make these pairings with a very particular outcome that in some cases is even guaranteed. We know very well if we put a pied to a pied, we're going to get a pied. There's no debate on that. But it still feels like wizardry when I cut that egg open or when I see it pip on its own, and I'm like,
of course,
I'll be damned. Look at that, it worked again. Like, yeah, of course it worked again, Adam, because it's always going to work. Like that's how it's going to work. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. And when you said that about like having the goal immediately about the eggs going into the trash and then one day hatching them, you also mentioned earlier, I'll tie these two together. You mentioned earlier, you know, when you first were buying ball pythons, I think we're pretty similar in age. I remember there was a pied and I remember there was an albino in the store, and the pied or the albino was like the price of a car, and the pied was like the price of a house. Yeah. And as a mostly broke college kid working a salad bar or Ruby Tuesday, like those were never like, you may as well have told me I was going to pull up in a Lamborghini that ran on unicorn piss. You know, it wasn't going to happen in my life. Yeah. And then, you know, fast forward in the middle of the pandemic, we buy my son a bearded dragon, and I'm like, you know what, man, maybe I want a ball python again. They were pretty cool. Yep. Right then, I land on Morph Market, and I'm like, oh my, look at all of these things, look at them all. And it was like, all right, man, I remember when I hatched my first pied this past year, I was like, I did it. This little unicorn that I never thought I would have. Yeah. Not only do I have one, I made one, man. It was like,
it's the best feeling. It really is. Like the fact that we're able to create lives, you know, I mean, that in its own is pretty crazy if you think about it. And that we can kind of control the outcomes. It's crazy. I love it. Like it's nuts. And I like the gambling aspect of it too. I have to like throw that out there. Like, because I like to gamble. I like to bet on football games and stuff like that. Like I'm not a gambler, but I do like to bet here and there, you know. But what I like is the gambling aspect of the ball pythons, because you don't know what you're going to get for sex ratios. You don't know what you're going to get for genes passed down from the parents. And you don't know if you're going to get heads or visuals depending on the pairing. Right. And I like that. That's exciting, like, because you don't know what you're going to get.
Rolling the odds,
man, that makes it fun.
I tell a story sometimes. It was my third or my fourth year of college. I spent quite a number of years at college, not because I have a doctorate degree by any means, but there was that year, like Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker, and then everybody was suddenly reading Doyle Brunson's book, and then online partypoker.com had just emerged. Yeah. And there was a game every night, like a tournament game every night somewhere in
Remember it well.
Yeah, I went to the University of Florida, and I could play poker every 7 nights a week, overnight, emerge as the sun was coming up, go to class if I wanted or not, which I more and increasingly didn't want to do. And I remember being like, I woke up one day, I was like, Adam, you have to quit poker. Like, you have to be done with it. This is not healthy. This is not working. This is not is not good for you. And there's a number of people I talk to that are like, yeah, I quit gambling, but ball pythons are a blast, man. I'm like, yeah,
They are. Like, I love it. Like, I love the gambling aspect of it because there's so much risk there. There's risk on your investment. There's risk on the money you're putting in. There's risk on, is that female going to go? Is that male going to go for you this year? Your power male that you just bought. What if he doesn't go for you?
But you can affect the outcome. I always say I'll gamble on anything I can affect the outcome on. The things I can't affect the outcome on, I personally myself won't get. Like, I won't gamble on sports because I can't affect that outcome. But I haven't affected the outcome on ball pythons, and in that way, I guess I gamble more than I ever put into those poker games now. But it's just crazy, and it definitely gets me going, and it's something to look forward to. And it's long enough that you don't get that almost there's a bit of an addictive rush to it, but you don't get that addictive immediate gratification because you got to stay focused for a year, if not years on end, to see things through. So I like that part of it too. I feel like that's like the mental evolution of an addictive personality. Like, okay, I can bring this down and spread it out, like look at me growing up, settling down.
Right.
We'll see. Jeremy brought up a funny, not only a funny story, an interesting story. I don't know if you saw I commented on it on Instagram the other day too. It's crazy how small of a world this, whether we call it an industry or a hobby or wherever people are at. So Jeremy Bod, and he's a guest next week on the show, by the way, everybody. Jeremy Bod will be on Bod's Exotic Reptiles, and the week after is Spencer from a Tree Frog Collective.
Nice.
Jeremy was very good to me and welcoming, and has always been there, offered to help. We talked on the phone yesterday, matter of fact. So I've gone to his facility and filmed, I think only once, but I always film at shows when I see him as well because he's got cool stuff, and I think he deserves more recognition than he gets and all of that. So I have a little platform and I can help. Great. You posted a picture of, and I'm going to try and remember off the top of my head, I believe it was a Cypress Honey Desert Ghost. And I'm scrolling through Instagram and I was like, man, that snake looks familiar. That looks like one of Jeremy's. And I look in the comments and I'll be damned. That snake has been in my, not one like it.
Your video?
That snake has been in my videos before.
Nice.
And it was kind of cool to be like, wow, I'm getting pretty good at this identification thing. And second, you're like, I think that's what that is, But then it's just kind of full circle. You're going to be on the show. You have that snake. I've interacted with that snake that you have in Chicago. And I think Jeremy said that you cut that one, or you cut the eggs on that one or something.
Yeah, that's like the craziest part of it all. So long story short, I think it was 2021 Thanksgiving. I was in Florida. My sister lives in Florida. She lives in Tampa. So I was in Florida. We were all hanging out with my sister for Thanksgiving. I was there for like a week. I knew Jeremy lived there, and I knew Jeremy through a Patreon that we had both become members of, right? So we had chatted like just kind of casually, in the group, chats or whatever. And when I was in Florida, I was like, I wonder who's around me right now. Like, I wonder who I can go see. Like, what reptile friend could I go connect with, So I got, no joke, I got on Morph Market and I went on the Morph map. And
it's that Morph tool, right? Yeah.
It is. So I go on the map and I see I'm in Tampa and I look and I see Jeremy Bod's like 20 minutes from me. And I'm like, you know what? Let me hit him up. And see if he wants to. I don't know Jeremy. Like, I've never met him. We've never spoken on the phone. And it was just like, we had a couple interactions in a chat room or whatever once or twice. So I text him. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm in Florida. I'm here for a week. Maybe we'll connect. Let's hook up. And he's like, yeah, man, no problem. Come over to the house. I'll be here these days, and we can come hang out, And he goes, I have a clutch I'm cutting this weekend. Maybe if you come on this day and everything is still on track, like we can cut this clutch, do a YouTube video. I'm like, dude, that sounds awesome, man. And thank you so much. Like, so Thanksgiving morning was the only morning I could make it work. Like, I had a bunch of family members there, so we were busy doing family things. But Thanksgiving morning, I was free all day, and so was Jeremy. So we figured out that was the morning we could get together. So I got in the car, I popped over to his place that morning and saw his whole place, his facility, which is amazing. He kind of gives me a tour of everything. It's crazy. Like, I love it. Like, his backyard is amazing. It really is.
Like, guys like you and I are like, well, we got a spare bedroom or I converted a garage.
Yeah, well, like, Yeah, I mean, first of all,
what's another house? Let me just build a
the
house
thing
out
that's
here.
crazy is like I'm in a bedroom, right? And you're like you're in your basement or whatever. So
Yeah.
like Jeremy has it all in his yard. Like he has custom enclosures all over his backyard that look like it's crazy. You walk back there and there's a bunch of structures, a
Yeah,
bunch of
there's
buildings,
zoo
and he has
exhibits. Yeah.
various, rhino iguanas and pectinatas, and he has all this crazy, amazing stuff right on his prop. And I was like, man, this is so cool. Like,
Yeah.
I was because in Chicago, growing up in Chicago, a snake or a reptile gets outside for 5 minutes and that shit's dead. It's too cold,
Right. Yeah.
So to see this stuff living outside and reproducing outside was amazing. And then we kind of hung out. We started he pulled out a clutch of eggs and he cut the first few eggs and he's like, man, I don't love these odds. Like, he's like, hey, man, come in here with me, cut a few of these eggs. And I was like, oh, okay, man, whatever, So I jump into his video and I cut a few eggs. And like the second or third one I cut was this snake that you're referencing right now. And I cut it and we're looking at it. We're going, oh my God, I think this is a desert ghost cypress. This thing is crazy, and we're just trying to figure out the clutch at that point. And I put it back down. I cut the next couple eggs and that was it. We finished the video. We had a good time. We met, hung out for the whole day, and we've become very good friends since then. I talk to Jeremy very often. He's a good, trusted friend of mine. And I talk to him regularly, and that day, created a great relationship for me, and I value our friendship definitely. And Jeannie's awesome too. I just love them. They're a cool couple. I love what they're all about, and I like Jeremy's sense of humor. Like him and I are on the same page. We're both kind of crazy, a little goofy, and I like that about him. So,
Always good for a
long and
laugh.
short of it, long and short of it was I get home from that trip. A few months go by, and Jeremy reached out to me about a snake that I had just listed on Morph Market. And he's like, hey, I see you have this thing. I'm kind of interested in that. And I said, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, I have a few animals. I still have a couple animals left from that clutch you cut when you were here that day. And I'm like, do you really? Like, holy
He was
cow.
grooming you
like,
from day one. He's like, I'm going to get that snake from this guy. We're going to groom him right now.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy the way it all unfolded. But in the end, I got a snake from him. He got a snake from me. And the snake that I got from him is a snake that I cut that day on Thanksgiving morning. So I cut this baby out of its egg. Months went by. I end up getting the snake, and now it's like right here in my rack, and it's amazing. Like I love it. It's really cool though. It's really cool the way it all unfolded.
I'll have to dig up the video I did. Maybe I'll make a reel or something out of just that snippet, but I'll tag you on it.
Nice.
I'll do that.
But yeah, man, it was a cool experience, and I'm very thankful that I kind of crossed paths with Jeremy. Him and I have become close, and now we've had a couple exchanges with snakes, and I trust him. I call him for advice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I trust his opinion. I really do. And we bounce ideas off each other, and I think it's just a good friendship. He's a good dude. He's coming here to Tinley in a couple weeks. Now he's coming over here by me. He's got a table at Tinley, so he's vending, which is really cool. So I'm going to connect with him for the whole weekend. I live like 45 minutes from Tinley. I'm in Northern Illinois. Actually about an hour from Tinley, but yeah, I'll be able to kind of hang out. And I'm not vending Tinley this time. I vended in October. I'm not vending this time.
Oh, I thought you were vending with Ken and Matt. No.
Well, I kind of am. So here's the deal. Like, I have a small handful of snakes available right now, like maybe 15 left, something like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to vend. Like, the tables are $400 at Tinley.
Yeah.
And my buddy had a table that he offered me, but I was like, you know what? I'm not going to spend $400. It's the stuff that I have right now. Like, I feel like it can sell on Morph Market. Like, I don't want to do the show. Like, I did it in October. I want to be able to kind of walk around the show this time and enjoy it and kind of hang out with my friends and do, and I figure maybe I'll vend Tinley like one of the 2 shows each year. And the other one, I'll just go for fun. So this one, I'm going for fun, which is really cool. Yeah, that's next Friday. Jeremy, I think, is coming in here next Thursday, a week from Thursday. Yeah, so it's creeping up real quick, and I'm looking forward to everyone coming into town. And it's cool for me because I'm 45 minutes away, like Jeremy, and all these people have to drive across the whole country to come to Tinley. And I'm like, I wake up in the morning, shower, and drive over to Tinley. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's really nice.
Hopefully,
I'm looking forward to hanging out. I am sharing a table, though, to answer your question, Adam. So my buddy Ken got a table.
Yep.
And Ken called me and he said, hey, I don't have enough stuff to fill my table. I have another buddy jumping in, and he's also putting some stuff on my table. But if you have some stuff to sell, like, feel free to throw it on my table. And I said, you know what? I do have some stuff. I have like 12 or 15 animals, not enough to do a whole table. But since you're offering, yeah, man, I'll jump in with you, and I'll take that little spot on your table and keep it easy, you know. So I'm bringing some snakes there. I'm putting them into his display, which is really cool. Like, I'm not bringing my display, no displays, nothing. I'm just going there with some snakes,
Oh, wow.
setting them up in his displays, and you
Beautiful.
know, I'll spend some time behind the table, but I basically want to kind of walk around and have fun. Like, what I realized in October at Tinley when I vended was I didn't see anything. Like, I
Yeah.
missed the whole show, which was really weird for me. I'm used to walking around and talking to people, and I'm a talker, you know, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, so I'm like walking around talking to everybody. But this October, being behind my table, people were coming up to me, which was nice, and it was a change. But I love that freedom of walking around and interacting with people and going to see what I want to see. And I'm looking forward to doing that next weekend. Definitely.
Well, I know it'll be a blast. Hopefully I'll get there either in the fall or in the spring, but soon enough I'll be there. But yeah, that's like I'm trying to debate whether I want to vend at Daytona this year. The tables are expensive. I don't know what my inventory is going to look like. And for me, the fun of Daytona is going to see everything. I don't want to be anchored in one spot. So
I'm coming to Daytona. Yeah, I'm coming
to Daytona, but I want to be free too. So I know that
my wife and I are coming out for Daytona this year.
Yeah, that Jeremy was saying that. I wasn't going to say anything unless you brought it up. But yeah, that's what.
Yeah, no, it's no big deal to me. Like, I'm not shy about it. But yeah, Jeremy had told me, hey, come out, check the show out. The hotel where the show is like right on the beach, right on the ocean. I'm like, man, that all sounds perfect. Like,
no, and it's a great hotel too.
I love warm weather. I love the beach. And I was like, you know what? A reptile show and the beach, I'm in. You know, so I can't wait to get.
The restaurants are great in the hotel. The bars are great. It's all right there, man. It's great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Let's take a quick moment here. Let's say hey to I saw Antoine and a few others come in. I said your name earlier, Antoine, and you show up. You're like the candy man, dude. So, hey, thank you all for being here. I'm not going to go through everybody in the chat. I'm not that good at that stuff, but I really appreciate you being here. I got to say thanks to REDLINE Shipping. If you haven't had a chance to check out REDLINE Shipping and what Robin Markland and his team are doing there, please do. If you use the promo code PROPER5, you're going to get an extra $5 off of your next order. And there's a number of other codes out there as well. And if you come and see me at a show in person, I've got a 60% discount for you at my booth as well. Those are only good at the shows, and they're only good for 2. So use Proper5, save yourself $5 so next time that you're out, and check out REDLINE Shipping. Also, if you feed frozen thawed like I do, I highly recommend Cold Blooded Cafe. You know, it's really weird to say. My time in restaurants really formulates my opinion of their rodent production, but it does because we're making food for our animals. And I was a customer of theirs long before I was ever a sponsor or sponsored by them. And so now they've created a personalized promo code for me. I said, hey, how am I doing? They said, I don't know. And I said, well, make a promo code and then you can track me. So go check it out. It says 10% off first-time orders. It actually should say it's a single-use code. You don't have to be a first-time customer of theirs to use that code. So Proper 10, Cold Blooded Cafe, go check them out. Last but not least, the chipper cocoa has been really good for me. And very specifically, I get it from Chris at BNS Reptilia. He's the Pennsylvania distributor. How'd I get mixed up with a Pennsylvania distributor here in Florida? Well, Chris at BNS Reptilia has amazing animals. He's been a great resource for me. The chipper is one of the ways that he makes money as well. So there you go. We got everybody covered. I do use all of those products that I represent. I wouldn't feed you any nonsense that way. So go check it out. And if you haven't seen the ticker, check out my Patreon. I would be grateful. It will help me continue to make great quality content, and it means I don't have to spend as much time going to get a job. Boom, there we go. All right, we promised everybody, or I did on your behalf, we promised everybody we'd talk about investing in morphs. That snake that you got from Jeremy got me thinking, what goes into the process? What goes into the decision making? What do you think of? And what things do you weigh when you look at what to buy? You've been around long enough. You've seen ups and downs. I'm guessing you've seen trends come and go. My biggest fear is that I invest in I invested Sunset, and suddenly, you know, in a year when I'm producing, so did everybody else, and the bottom falls out of them, right?
Yep.
And that could have been any gene. I have nothing against Sunset. I'm not in Sunset. But so what thought process do you put into that? And sorry, I guess to frame the question too, the flip side of that coin is if you don't invest in new genes, you're going to become obsolete as well, because people do want the new flashy, exciting stuff, and they want the stuff they can believe in, that they can go create something new with. So where's that balance? What decision making goes into that?
There's a lot that goes into it. Like I mentioned earlier, like I'm very selective about what snakes I buy, because I have limited space. I try to keep it limited, and I'm very selective about what I bring in here. You know, it needs to fit my breeding program, and it needs to be something I love. You know, something I won't do. I won't go out and buy like the new hot ass gene that everybody's buying just because it's the new hot ass gene that everybody's buying. Like, I need to love it.
Right.
I got to be honest. Like, for me to work with it, I need to love it. There's a lot of genes that I don't work with just because personally I don't love them and they don't fit into my, you know, breeding program. So a few factors, you know, are considered when I'm buying something. Of course, the price. Is it a male or a female? And how can I make it work towards my collection? Is it a gene I already have, or is it a new gene that I'm bringing in? And that also determines, you know, whether I buy a boy or a girl. You know, from the investment side, you know, if I'm going chasing some new gene that's expensive that I love and want, I'm going to try to get it in a boy so I can start putting it with my girls as soon as possible to maximize the return on the investment as quickly as possible.
Dominant or recessive? Or when you say that, do you mean it for dominant or recessive genes, or specifically one of the other?
That's specifically for dominant kind of stuff.
Okay, sure.
Really. Recessive, you know, that's a long-term investment either way, you know, and as far as recessives, I try to I don't have a ton of recessive projects, and that's on purpose, because I feel like to do a recessive project right, you got to have multiples of it. Right. You really do. You got to have a lot of different versions of it with different codons mixed in, and you got to have a vision and a goal for it. So in my mind, when you're taking on a new recessive project, you better have thought it out and think about, okay, to do this recessive project right and invest into it and really run with it as something I love. Where does it fit? Where does it fit in my breeding program? Where does it fit in my racks? Where does it fit in my long-term plan? And does that all come together? If that's the case, I'll buy the snake. As far as chasing new genes, you know, I'll do it. Like you said, the relevance part of it, you need to buy some new genes to stay relevant. Yeah, that's the bottom line. I mean, it's very easy to buy old tired genes, I'll call them, that have been around for a long time, and realize that people aren't going to want to buy those snakes from you. You know, in some cases, unless you're making some new crazy combos that are blowing people away. But if you're dealing with certain old genes that have been around a long time and they've been just produced and produced and produced like crazy, you're likely going to have a hard time selling those on Morph Market or selling those at a show. Because you look at Morph Market now, there's 45,000 ball pythons on there. You have a lot of competition as a seller and as a business. So you have to be selective about what you breed, about what you bring in, and about what you want breeding into your collection. So I think about it all. I overanalyze it. When I'm to the point, Adam, like where I'm going to buy a snake. Like if I see something pop up on Morph Market, and I'm like, oh my God, like this might work for me. I might buy this thing, and then I'll start thinking about it, and I'll start dissecting it and going, okay, what could I do with this, and exactly how? And then somebody else buys it out from under me. You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking about it too long. I'm trying to make my decision. So I've learned over the years, like if it's an animal I see on Morph Market, or I know a friend that has something that was just hatched or whatever, I'm going to jump on it immediately. And that, I guess that's a lesson to some newer people coming into the game too, from an investment perspective. If you see an animal on Morph Market, or you know somebody that has an animal, it's staring at you, it fits your breeding program, the cost is right, it's a male or female, whatever you're looking for, you can't hesitate. You can't dwell on it. You can't think about it too much. You need to jump on that snake right then and there. You must, because somebody else is going to if you don't. So I've learned to leap quickly in certain situations.
I think there's two thoughts there too. One, you talked about the number of animals that are on Morph Market, but there's also more buyers, maybe than ever. Maybe a little bit less than 1 year ago, but not many. So the buyers are nearly at an all-time high as well. And it's a little bit ironic because I won't say the same people. I hear people make an argument. The market's too flooded. It's too watered down. There's too much going on. And I want to say to myself, what do you think happened to all those snakes that you were selling like hotcakes for the past 3 years? Well, I mean, those weren't going off to some, island vacation to bask in the sun.
Sure.
Man. Those were getting put in racks and paired up and all of that. So
yeah,
we have to bear that in mind.
Definitely.
As well. It's funny. We were just talking about Ken, and here Ken comes popping in.
Yeah. So Ken's who I'll be sharing a table with at Tinley. He's a good buddy of mine. He's fairly local to me. He's about an hour from me. And I see him at all the shows, and we actually met a few years ago at a dinner. Justin Kobilka had a dinner like in Tinley. He had invited a bunch of, it was like people that were buying snake. It was the Tinley that was shut down because of COVID. It was that show. The one that everybody got into town, and then all of a sudden the governor shut down Chicago and everybody was here. And so Justin had brought a bunch of snakes for people. He brought a couple snakes for Ken, and he brought a couple snakes for me. So Justin, because Tinley was canceled, said, hey, let's all meet at this restaurant. We'll have dinner. I'll hand you all your snakes after dinner. So it was like in a parking lot after dinner, he was like handing out all our snakes to us. It was like crazy in a parking lot. And it was like 30 degrees out that night too. It was freezing. Yeah. No, but Ken cool. Sat next to me at dinner that night. And that's where I met him. He was by himself, and we got to talking, and then we like ran into each other at a show at Tinley like the next year, and we're like, hey, we had dinner together that night, and we got to talking, and him and I are buddies now. He's a really good guy. Another guy that's I would call him, he's in my group of trusted friends, in this game. He's a close friend of mine now. He's a good dude. Yeah. Absolutely a good guy.
I'm actually surprised we haven't met before tonight, because it wasn't because COVID shut us down and that we were picking up snakes from Kobilka or anything, but when I met Ken in person for the first time was at Daytona, and we were having dinner at the steakhouse. With matter of fact, Jeremy was at the table that night. Steven from Leviathan was at the table with us, and a few other people, Shannon and Green Dragon. Anyway, and that's the fun of those like sort of super shows, where everybody's in town and you can hang out and spend time, and like this is an amazing platform for it. But it's just even better in person, just that camaraderie and interaction is
definitely,
is really special. So, okay, so aside from you having cut the snake you didn't cut the snake, you cut the egg out, the snake out of the egg. Aside from that attraction, or maybe there wasn't any other attraction, but so let's pick apart, Cypress Honey and DG. Did you have those genes already? When you
So I'll take a step back and just tell you we're straight up front. Like if one of your questions was to ask me, like, what's your favorite codom gene in the game right now? It's Cypress.
Okay,
cool. It's an easy decision. It has been for years. I bought my first Cypress. I bought a female straight Cypress. She's right here. And I bought her like 4 years ago when Cypress was new, and she was a fortune. She was thousands of dollars. I'll tell you how much. I'm not going to tell you how much, but
that's
she was a fortune. Because Cypress was new, and I saw this and was like, man, and I loved it. It had this like special color about it, it was like bronze and kind of copper.
It's got a glow to it,
pattern, and I was like, man, this thing is amazing. So over the last few years, absolutely, Cypress is my favorite gene, codom gene, and I have multiple snakes in this room, probably 5 females that are Cypress or Cypress something.
Right.
Or Cypress Clown. I have a Cypress Clown. I have a Cypress Honey Desert Ghost, Het Clown.
Het Clown, that's right, yeah.
Het Clown, yeah. So Jeremy had told me when I bought that snake, he's like, this thing is a pos het krypton. Like this thing could be like maybe het cryptic or het clown. And I was just happy to be getting a Cypress Desert Ghost, right? Because that was an animal I had been looking for. And it happened to be the animal that I cut out of that egg that day too. So once it became like available to me, I couldn't believe it. And I was just excited to have that. But Jeremy mentioned, that thing could be het clown. So once all this genetic testing came out, I sent that shed in as soon as I could.
Cool. Very cool.
I was like, I need to find out. Like, I need to know. And it came back positive. So this girl that I got from Jeremy, this Cypress Desert Ghost, Honey, is also het clown, which is perfect for me in my projects because I do DG clown stuff. It's my favorite project,
Cool. And have you produced it? Have you hit any double recessives yet on those?
Yeah, I made 3 Desert Ghost clowns this year.
Okay.
this was my first year, like with the real chance to be able to make them.
Right.
I whiffed on a couple others. Combos. I was trying to make black pastel desert ghost clowns, and in that clutch I didn't make any black pastel desert ghost clowns, but I made a DG clown, and I made some black pastel DG's het clown and some black pastel clowns het DG, but I didn't hit the winner, you know.
Yeah.
Just luck of the draw. 9 eggs. Statistically I should have hit one. It's 1 in 8. 1 in 8 odds to hit a black pastel DG clown with the pairing that I had. And 9 eggs, they all hatched, no DG clown, or no black pastel DG clown. But I did make three DG clowns this year. As far as the Cypress stuff, though, I haven't, let me think here. I haven't done really anything with DG clown and Cypress yet.
Yeah.
That'll probably be with the snake I got from Jeremy. That'll be the first real crack at it that I'll have.
But that's nice because like once you've already got one of the visuals, then it becomes much, much faster. You know, you pick up an animal like that from Jeremy, I mean, has a Cypress Honey double visual ever been created? I mean, you're sitting in the driver's seat for being one of the first on that one, right?
I'm sure it's been made. You know, somebody. I don't know if I've seen one like a Cypress. Oh, maybe Levance made one. Now that I think about it, or maybe even Will. Will might have made one up at Royal Canadian Reptiles. He might have made one. I can't recall offhand, but I don't know. I don't know if that's one that I've seen. But yeah, I mean, I do have a chance to make one. You know, in probably a year,
right?
If things go well.
Yeah,
man, I'm super excited, and Cypress is my favorite gene. You know,
cool.
I would love to spread that around to everything if I could, because it makes sense for me. I love it, and I love working with it.
It's on my list. I don't buy very many dominants. I actually focus more on recessives, but that is definitely. I've even talked to Jerry, like the last. I guess it was Orlando, the last Orlando show. I was like, man, if I hit this in revenue today, I'm buying that Cypress from you. Yeah, I didn't, and I try and stay disciplined on it, you know, and but I get it. I neglected. Mike just showed up.
Mike's a good dude.
Mike is a good dude. Mike came out and vended with me in Lakeland this weekend, and you know, one of the great things that Dale at Constricted Reptiles did for me was let me vend with him to get some reps under my belt and learn sort of the scene of shows and some of the etiquette and everything else. And Mike was saying that he was ready to find somebody to tag along with. And I was like, Mike, come out, man. And it was great. So it was great to spend some time with him. Thanks, Mike. It was good.
Mike's a good guy. Mike has a snake from me. He got a snake from me.
Does he? Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yep. I can't wait to see what happens with it. He's a good guy. I was on his show, I don't know, like 6 months ago, and he's a great host. He's a good dude. I like him a lot. Very nice guy.
He's very good. He's another one of the Florida guys here. Jason, I'm going to trust that you're not spewing any hateful things here, but $20. Thank you so much. We'll stop the show and check this out for $20. I bought my first pied female hatchling on Morph Market. And like Abe said, buy what you like and are going to enjoy. Overpaid and didn't overanalyze. Just knew that was the one. We love all our snakes and have names because we're not at 100 yet. You'll get there, man. Now, I name most of the breeders that I hold back. I still name, but it also helps me. It helps me attach knowledge and personality to the snake. So it's easier for me to go, Sharona's a crazy eater than to go DHU3-20 is crazy. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So I do like to do that. Jason, thank you so much. And I think, look, we sometimes get too caught up in price. If it's something you're going to have for years, and if it's a pet, decades, who cares?
Right.
You know what your money's worth to you. You know what you worked to pay for it. And if it's going to bring you joy and you can look yourself in the mirror, screw the rest of it. It doesn't matter. And I mean, I use that same argument on guitars all the time. Like this, you know, I probably overpay for Gibson on the headstock, but man,
you got to pay to play. You got to pay to play with the good stuff. That's
right.
You know, I tell that to new people, like people that are coming into ball pythons are like, you know, how do you do this? What do you do? How do you breed? And I said, hey, here's the bottom line. You got to pay to play in this game. You do. You really do. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. You can do it. You have to pay either way, but you can do it slow or fast.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's how much time you have.
And
that
you
kind
can
of dictates things too.
There's the time and money equation, and I think everybody gets, but you brought up too, there's also the space equation. I mean, we can't just on fast notice pop out a whole bunch of new space. Like, you got to be diligent on what's going to go where. At some point, we all have a finite amount of space in this moment. Now, can we go buy another house? Some can, I suppose, but the reality is that's not going to happen fast, and you can't go down to your pet store and buy more space. You could buy more food, you could buy more bedding, you could buy another animal, but you cannot buy more space. So
I gotta say, I can see everybody's comments on here. Like, I'm viewing the comments in here, but I'm not allowed to answer anything. So if anybody was asking me anything, I can't respond. Just so y'all know.
And guys, this is the time in the night. If you have any specific questions that you want to cover with me or Abe, now's a good time for it. If we've been, by the way, I didn't bring it up earlier. I want to say thank you. There's 50 of y'all hanging out tonight, and I'm not going to name it, but there was a new show that popped up on my same time slot tonight, and I'm like, look at this.
I was like, oh my God.
No, you know what? I've never, A, competition doesn't bother me. B, those are good dudes. They've always been cool to me. Fine. Yeah. And there's only so many hours in the day, but you know what? I got more followers and subscribers on Instagram and YouTube than they do for a reason, and I'm confident in the content. And Abe, you hit it out of the park for me tonight. So, hey, good things are happening, man. I'm cool in that. And there's always replays. Like, I'm going to go watch that show, and other people are going to come watch the show. But
yeah, definitely.
So that's always cool. So, okay, so you got this it's a killer snake, Cypress honey, DG het clown. What's on your radar that you don't have? What are you overanalyzing right now that you want to that you're considering?
A lot. Like, you know how you have your Morph Market wish list, right? How you check all these, you put all these snakes into this wish list and you hope nobody else buys them, and when they do, you're like, damn it, I can't believe someone bought my snake. Like, that's on my watch list. That shit's mine. Yeah. But people will grab it eventually, and you're like, oh, and in the end, maybe you weren't going to buy it anyway, right?
Right.
But for me, the genes that I'm kind of looking at right now, like Codom stuff, lace, of course, has to be lace, and I do have some lace in my collection. So I guess that's not a great example or a great answer to your question, but stuff that I don't have that I really like right now that I'm really looking at, Wookie. I got to say Wookie. Wookie's one. That I don't have. I have chocolate. I have a bunch of chocolate in here, but I don't have Wookie, and they are different. So I do want Wookie.
That Wookie and the clown, the Kraken, I guess, the nicknames on top of nicknames are I lose track of, man. But yeah, Wookie and clown is that's pretty phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, Wookie I love. It brings in more white than chocolate. Like, it lightens up the sides so much. It brings a white up the side of the snake that you don't get from chocolate. And I think that's the big difference, that I see visually. And Wookie just seems to kind of do some other stuff. So Wookie is one that I definitely like that I don't have. What else do I really like right now that I don't have? Codom. Jeez. Okay. NR Mandarin. It's got to be NR Mandarin. I mean, dude.
Good, right?
And I mean, TJ has been putting out from Properroyals. Dude, he has the nicest Mandarin stuff I've ever seen. And I was always one of these guys that was like, God, I see all this Mandarin stuff on Morph Market, and it looks okay. It looks kind of average. Some of them I can't even tell if it's actually a Mandarin or if it's just a normal, And then look at these on Morph Market, I'm like, half of these look like crap. You know what I mean? You can't even tell they're a Mandarin. But when you see a high quality Mandarin, like the stuff from Miguel or from Justin or from TJ, TJ does, to me, have the nicest Mandarin stuff out there. And I don't know why or what it is that he has, but he has some secret sauce in his Mandarin stuff, and he has hypo in the mix. And dude, NR Mandarin to me is an investment quality gene right now that people need to get on. I just haven't yet, but I will when I find the right snake.
I was going to say that I would say it's funny how much our list overlaps. I'm excited about lace, but I'm probably not an investor in it right now. But Cypress and NR Mandarin, as far as dominance go, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I always say I'm full of recessives, but honestly, I don't. Everybody rolls their eyes and goes, "What?" But I don't have Desert Ghost yet. I may or may not jump into that just because I have so much else going on. And then a few of the super high end ones. And one of these days, I'm gonna get into either a Monsoon or a Sunset, something of that caliber and that newness. Yeah. But that's a lot. Like I joke with people. I never thought I would buy $2,000 guitars, man. Now I'm talking about buying $5,000 snakes. Like,
oh yeah, it's crazy. Like I've spent more on one snake than I've ever spent on any bass guitar that I've bought. And I've spent a lot of money on bass guitars. I'm like you, like it's worth it to spend a little more money on a high quality bass to me because I want it to sound good. I want it to play smoothly. I want it to be badass.
Yeah,
and to be badass, you know, sometimes it's going to cost a little more money. So that's a good analogy, man. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's two different business models. I think people ask me about, you know, well, you got the experience for music versus the ball pythons, and I think of ball pythons, if you don't set aside a certain X percentage that you're going to reinvest and grow and stay relevant with,
yeah,
you probably, I wouldn't say you're going to fail, but it's going to get very, very challenging. Whereas music,
absolutely,
you really, once your equipment is set and it's durable and it's good equipment, it's all profit. Now, the scale is different. You can't scale yourself to be in 4 places at once unless you're selling a hell of a lot of CDs, which I don't. I just perform.
Right.
Odds I could scale. I could have 100 of them working for me, you know. So it's neat. It's a neat balance on the music stuff. What's your sort of genre or sound of choice?
So I like old school. Like I'm an old school metal guy. So
okay,
I play
cool.
old. Yeah. So I love all music. I got to make that clear. Like I grew up, my mom would always have like Stevie Wonder and all the old like kind of disco stuff going, and I love that. Like I love the old funky bass lines, and that's what kind of got me in. That's what made me kind of key in on the bass versus the guitar. Like I listened to all these funky ass disco and stuff that my mom was listening to growing up, and it grew on me. And then once I got older, I got into metal. And so I love heavy metal. I've been a heavy metal bass player for my whole life, but I will play funk. I like slap bass, you know. But I will play fast too. Like I like to play fast. I like speed. I like the old like kind of San Francisco thrash scene metal. Like I love Megadeth and Metallica and Slayer and all that stuff. But I like a lot of the old Suicidal Tendencies. I love them. They're one of my favorite bands. Like, dude, they're great. I love Suicidal.
Man,
Suicidal had a spin-off band called Infectious Grooves. Did you ever hear them?
I did not. I'm not familiar with them.
Oh,
okay.
So Suicidal, they did like the singer Mike from Suicidal and the bass player who's now in Metallica.
Right.
You know, they did a little side project called Infectious Grooves, and it is some of the funkiest. It's crazy. It's metal, but it's funk metal, and it's kind of like the Chili Peppers, but harder, faster, and much better.
Yeah,
much better. But yeah, I like funky bass. I like funky metal. I love Primus. I love Rush. I love Led Zeppelin. I love Iron Maiden, Slayer. All the like metal bands that I kind of mentioned. Tool. I'm a huge fan of Tool. Tool is an incredible band. I've seen them a bunch, man. And I'm a concert guy, Adam. Like last year, I saw 11 concerts.
Oh, good for you.
Last summer,
It keeps
whenever I can go to a concert, I'm going. Always.
I go to a lot of them. I go to a lot of concerts, and I like smaller club shows. I like kind of the look that you get in small clubs and stuff. But
man.
So I have this. So generally, I play in like Irish pubs. There's a good circuit of Irish pubs around, and had some cool opportunity to play with Flogging Molly and Steve Earle, which is not anywhere near metal, but legends in their own way.
Yeah.
But my dad's a great musician, and he calls me and he goes, "Hey, there's this like gig in Georgia that I got," and he goes, "We never performed together. Why don't you come play with me? We'll each pick 6 songs, you know." And I'm like, "This is pretty fun."
That's
my
cool.
dad has zero interest in any Irish pub anything, and he's not gonna, and like, so like old early punk is my thing. So like the Clash, Social Distortion,
Nice.
the Orange County scene was just but none of that's his thing. So like our Venn diagram falls like on the Rolling Stones. That's it. Like we're like, okay, we're gonna have to play some Stones songs. And I was trying to go through, and I really love Thin Lizzy, and I was listening to old Thin Lizzy stuff today, and
Nice.
like those guys were doing the metal super harmonic leads before any. Like, I actually I don't know anybody that was doing. We're getting really nerdy and probably losing people talking about Thin Lizzy harmonic leads, but it was funny when you said I love metal. I was like, you know what? These guys were right there with Black Sabbath and the early guys, the formative metal years, and the stuff they were doing is not easy, man. That's some serious music that they were doing. So anyhow, at the concert with my dad, we're gonna do Cowboy Song as well by Thin Lizzy. So I've got my work cut out for me rehearsing. Jay Hendo asked, Abe, do you have any Calico combos coming? Any exciting Calico combos?
I don't. I have no Calico and no sugar in this collection at all. Not for any reason. I like it. I just haven't found the right animal. Like I said, like I'm crazy selective about what I buy. So I just haven't found the right combo with Calico or sugar in it, but I'm keeping an eye out. There's a couple combos I really love that I've seen with it. And if I see the right animal, I'll definitely pick one up. But no, to answer your question, Jay, man, no, I won't have anything coming with Calico this year. Nope.
Oh man, I didn't know you were a drummer. Beast Morphs, he's in the audience.
That's right. It's good to know now, though. I like connecting with metal people for sure. I got to tell you, right now it's weird. Like I'm going through this metal like phase again right now, where I cannot get enough of. Well, first of all, Pantera. Let me take a step back to Pantera. Pantera, like for me, when Pantera broke onto the scene, I was a kid in high school, and I was watching Headbangers Ball. If I'm dating myself now,
I recall.
Dude, like I was watching Headbangers Ball one night, and Pantera came on, and that shit changed my life.
Yeah,
like that video, Cowboys from Hell. I was like, "What is this?"
I want that. Yeah.
From that point forward, it was just like, my God. And right now, like I'm really into. Right now, I love Lamb of God, Gojira. Like I'm into these weird, like kind of like metalcore bands that were popular like 10 or 15 years ago. Like right now, I'm going through a phase of that kind of metal. I can't get enough of it. Like Meshuggah and like all these weird kind of. I don't know. I can't get enough of it right now. But right now, Gojira and Lamb of God are my two favorite bands, like of the month. I guess we'll say.
It had to be. It was over a year ago now. Excuse me. Sorry. I have some friends that are super into metal, and there was this metal. There's a festival. It's called Welcome to Rockville, but it's become basically a metal festival. And
I know it.
But my buddy calls me up and he goes, "Hey, Social Distortion's playing Welcome to Rockville this year." I was like, "Ah, that's cool." I was like, "I'm not paying to get into that mess at the Daytona Speedway. I'll go see them at a club or whatever." And he goes, "I got a ticket for you. It's free, man. I got the armband. You get in." And he goes, "I got the hotel, everything." I was like, "All right, I guess I'm going." And
gotta go.
So that day I saw Social Distortion. Metallica was the headliner, which I love. I do love seeing legends, and Metallica's a legend for a reason. But I got to see some other bands that I didn't really like. I didn't know of or didn't know what to expect. But I tell you what, man, Rob Zombie's band is phenomenal. John 5.
John 5. Oh my God. John 5's a beast. We said that at the same exact time. We were both like, John 5. He's a freak.
Yeah.
Like,
and
he's one of the best guitarists on the planet. Really.
That live show that they did was unreal. Like, say what you want about, his, Rob Zombie shtick or whatever, which I've heard it all. Same with Alice Cooper, who's amazing and has amazing bands. Yeah. But they were great. And then there was another I never heard of. I think they're called. It was Bear something. Bear Claw.
Beartooth.
Beartooth. They
were
good. And
Beartooth is good. Nice.
The thing I saw that day that was weird to me, most bands were playing with tracks, which I was like, come on, guys, get your instrument, plug it into an amp, and go.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people were playing with tracks, but Beartooth was not, Rob Zombie was not, Metallica wasn't, like Social Distortion wasn't. Like, there's so much more of an organic, gritty feel when they're not playing the tracks. It was so good. So anyway, yeah, there we jumped into the metal place. If you guys, a lot of times, there's a guy named Phil, Finger Snakes BP. He's up in New York, and it's a play on Finger Lakes. Phil is a ripping guitarist, but I think he and I are playing at a like a breeder's barbecue this summer in Pennsylvania. We're going to
nice. That sounds cool. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and he's a ripping metal guy. But
nice.
Johnny Pete, John 5 is with Motley Crue. Is that real?
He's touring. Yeah, he's touring with them right now.
Doing their slot. Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, he is phenomenal, man. Well, look, guys, if you haven't caught on, I'm not feeling well. Abe, I know you're on Keys Constrictors tomorrow night. I hope you'll come back. You and I just scratched the surface.
I will.
We had
I feel like we have more to talk about for sure.
We do. I literally only wrote 2 topics on my sheet tonight, and we only sort of got to those. So I know there's a ton more. And it was God, I wish I was feeling well, because we go easy another 45 minutes, hour, but it was easy. I'd love to have you back when I'm feeling better. Maybe after Daytona, we could catch up and kind of see what's come since then, and we'll be able to hang out in Daytona this year. I'll come see.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, that'll be fun for sure.
I'll be for sure hanging out with Jeremy. Excuse me. Everybody in the audience, thank y'all for hanging out. I alluded to it a little bit ago, but Chris Eaton did a live show tonight, which I got no problem with Chris. He's always been good to me. He's a cool guy. To have 50 of y'all hanging out in the same time slot means the world to me, and really validating. So thank you very much. Go see Abe at Tinley with Ken at Primal Scales, Matt, KMB, and go see all those guys. Jeremy Bod will be up there. I think Steve Casino from Steve's Morphs will be there. Another good friend. So next week, Bod's Exotic Reptiles will be on.
Nice.
And that'll be right before he hits the road to Tinley. I didn't realize I was doing like a pre-Tinley run. I had Matt on. I'll have you. I got Jeremy on. So Abe, thanks so much. Everybody.
Thank you, man.
To Abe's Instagram and Morph Market are down below. Go check them out if you don't know them. And I'll say thank you. Let's do it again, man.
Appreciate everything, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate you reaching out. This was fun. And yeah, man, we'll do it again for sure. Whenever you want to.
Thank you so much. If I can kick some of these sweats, I'll swing by Keys tomorrow night.
I hope you feel better, man. And everybody who jumped in, thanks for being here tonight. Like Adam said, there were other shows happening tonight, but we're thankful that you guys were here with us. It was fun. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to hit the music. Abe, stick around for just a second, man. I'll see everybody next week, same time, same place. Cheers, everybody.